This is a portion of a speech that President Ronald Reagan gave January 25th, 1974, the first conservative political action conference, entitled City Upon a Hill. The course you have chosen is far more in tune with the hopes and aspirations of our people than are those who would sacrifice freedom for some fancied security. Excuse me. Standing on the deck Standing on the tiny deck of the Abarella in 1630 off the Massachusetts coast, John Winthrop said, "We shall be as a city upon a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us, so that if we deal falsely with our God in this work we have undertaken, and so cause him to withdraw his present help from us, we shall be made a story and a byword throughout the world. We will have not dealt falsely with our God, even if he is temporarily suspended from the classroom." When I was born, my life expectancy was 10 years less than I have already lived. That's a cause of regret for some people in California, I know. 90% of Americans at the time between beneath what is considered the poverty line today. Three-quarters live in what is considered substandard housing. Today, each of those figures is less than 10%. We have increased our life expectancy by wiping out almost totally disease that still ravages mankind in other parts of the world. I doubt if the young people here tonight would know the names of some of the diseases that were commonplace when we were growing up. We have more doctors per thousand people than any nation in the world. We have more hospitals than any nation in the world. When I was your age, believe it or not, none of us knew that we even had a racial problem. When I graduated from college and became a radio sports announcer broadcasting Major League Baseball, I didn't have a Hank Aaron or Willie Mays to talk about. The Spalding Guide said baseball was a game for Caucasian gentlemen. Some of us then began editorializing and campaigning against this. Gradually, we campaigned against all those other areas where the constitutional rights of a large segment of our citizenry were being denied. We have not finished the job. We still have a long way to go, but we have made more progress in a few years than we have made in more than a century. 1/3 of all students in the world who are pursuing higher education are doing so in the United States. The percentage of our young Negro community that is going to college is greater than the percentage of whites in any other country in the world. 1/2 of all economic activities in the entire history of man has taken place in this republic. We have distributed our wealth more widely among our people than any society known to man. Americans work less hours for a higher standard of living than any other people. 95% of all our families have adequate daily intake of nourishment, and a part of the 5% that don't are trying to lose weight. 90% have gas or electric refrigeration. 92% have televisions, and an equal number have telephones. There are 120 million cars on our streets and highways, and all of them are on the street at once when you are trying to get home at night. But isn't this just a proof of our materialism? The very thing we are charged with? Well, we also have more churches, more libraries. We support voluntarily more symphony orchestras and opera companies, nonprofit theaters, and publish more books than any other nation than all the other nations of the world put together. Excuse me. Somehow America has bred a kindness into our people unmatched anywhere, and has pointed out in the best-selling record by a Canadian journalist. We are not a sick society. A sick society could not produce the men that set foot on the moon, or who are now circling the earth above us in the skylab. A sick society of morality and courage did not produce the men who went through those years of torture and captivity in Vietnam. Where did we find such men? They are typical of this land as the founding fathers were typical. We found them in our streets, in the offices, in the shops, in the working places of our country, and on our farms. We cannot escape our destiny, nor should we try to do so. The leadership of the free world was thrust upon us 2 centuries ago in that little hall of Philadelphia in the days following World War II, when the economic strength and power of America was all that stood between the world and the return to darkness. Pope Pius XI said, "The American people have a great genius for splendid and unselfish actions. Into the hands of America, God has placed the destinies of an afflicted world. We are indeed, and we are today the last best hope of man on earth."